Man, what a drag.
Hey, when do we eat?
If there's nowhere for you to move, then there is no need to fear your abilities.
Fumikage, I caught the spore girl!
Captain Forest here, and in today's video I got a special matchup for my anime viewers. Of course, I've got Shikamaru from Naruto versus Tokoyami, or Fumikage Tokoyami, from Myheroacademia. Now if you guys enjoy anime content, and if you guys enjoy Marvel and DC content, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course consider subscribing for further content. Also, I'd like to make a huge shout out to some of my team members. Shout outs to Korin and Combat for some of the help with some of the calcs and some of like the scaling. They were able to give me some good stuff for Shikamaru, and also shout outs to Frisk and Phoenix. They also helped me with the Tokoyami section too, so huge shout out to them. But anyway, I was looking around for some pretty interesting anime matchups, and this popped up and it seems pretty cool. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the meat and potatoes of things. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with Shikamaru, see what he brings to the table. I'm gonna start off talking about some of the feats from part 1 and part 2 Naruto, which I will be mainly using. During part 1, while Shikamaru had Gaara under the Shadow Possession Jutsu, Kid Naruto was able to damage Gaara, and the drawback from the Shadow Possession also translated the damage back onto Shikamaru, which he took and endured the attack. Shikamaru demonstrates another feat where he was able to restrain one of the Sound Ninjas with his Shadow Possession Jutsu. This very same member is stronger than Jirobo, who is 10 times weaker in comparison, who performed a feat where he overpowers Choji and sends him flying. Due to the size of Choji, who is using his expansion jutsu, which increases his mass to the size of that of a town, the requirement to launch something of such stature would require 35.41 kilotons, which means that Jirobo and his lifting strength would be around town level, and Kid Shikamaru would scale to this. Now, in Naruto Shippuden Part 2, Shikamaru demonstrates with a Shadow Possession Jutsu, it's able to stab and damage Hidan with its tendrils. There are already characters that can perform casual feats, even lesser Akatsuki members, such as Deidara, who performs a feat where his explosive clay creates explosions, which was calced at city level. There are characters that can perform even mountain level feats too, and if you want to take it a step higher, we can also use the data books too, as it's stated that the members are skilled masters and that they are even stronger than the Jinchuriki. This is a very impressive statement, as Bijus have been shown to have higher feats, such as a charged Biju bomb explosion, which the potency can vary. This was calced around the ranges of mountain level to small island. There are even higher calcs and just different showings for other Bijus. They can even reach the island plus to even small country levels of attack potency. But it comes down to what ranges you guys feel comfortable using. So with all that being said, Shikamaru can easily range from the low ends of town level plus, city level plus, mountain level plus, and even higher end scaling of small island or island plus, or potentially even small country level. However, it does depend on your interpretation on the placements I mentioned, the higher end scaling, as other options are available. That's going to conclude attack potency. Let's move on to speed. Now Shikamaru can easily tag Hidan. Hidan himself can react to Kakashi very easily in combat. Kakashi himself has a relativistic speed feat where Haku had to use his mirror reflection to travel at light speed, while using a mirror to transport Kakashi's move to impale Zabuza, which ended up stabbing Haku instead. This was calced at 33 times the speed of light, aka relativistic speeds. There is even a direct FTL feat for Kakashi, who was able to react and counteract Itachi's water jutsu, which moves at light speed, which was calced at 2 times the speed of light, aka faster than light speeds. I will leave all these calcs in a description. So overall, Shikamaru should scale to all of this. So that's going to cover stats. Let's move on to Shikamaru's intelligence, abilities, and other jutsus that he has under his belt. Shikamaru is the Batman of Naruto essentially. This dude came up with 200 ways to defeat Tamari. He couldn't fulfill the task due to the lack of chakra, and granted, this was when he was a kid. In fact, he scored over 200 in an IQ test. Very impressive. Shikamaru's combined intellect and prep time straight up outsmarted and embarrassed Hidan, with multiple paper bombs and traps via luring Hidan into a situation he could not get out of, as Shikamaru would set the trap off and the paper bombs would all blow Hidan's limbs off as they fall into the trap hole, making it virtually impossible for Hidan to escape. In fact, within seconds, Shikamaru was able to figure out how Hidan's ritual works after seeing it just once. Shikamaru was able to fool both Hidan and Kakuzu with his strategy, successfully possessing them with a fake-out explosion and blades, which allowed Shikamaru to perform his jutsu. Shikamaru's analytical prowess allows him to foresee up to 200 possibilities of the next 10 moves in shogi. Shikamaru is built too smart. This dude pretends to be under Tayuya's genjutsu in order to lure Tayuya closer in order to trap her into his shadow possession jutsu. Shikamaru was aware of his opponents lacking any good form of teamwork and used that to his advantage to finesse them and take victory. Shikamaru is also very observant with his surroundings. He waits for the sun to drop in order to increase the range of his shadow possession jutsu. There are several more feats he shows with his tactics, strategies and skills, but I've covered the more important ones. Now let's move on down to his ability called the shadow possession jutsu. The shadow possession jutsu is a technique where Shikamaru extends his shadow with chakra. Anyone who is caught in its shadow is instantly under its possession. All their movements are now involuntarily under his control. Once caught, they cannot move. He can spread out his shadows, which can possess multiple enemies. Entwined with his intelligence, Shikamaru uses his shadow possession on Hidan and forces Hidan to fight his own teammate Kakuzu. Shikamaru is not limited to just this, however. He has engineered it to perform other types of techniques, such as the shadow possession shuriken, where he imbues a blade with chakra. He will throw it on an opponent's shadow to trap them with its possession. Shadow stitching is a technique where his shadow shoots out like tendrils in order to stab into his opponent's body. And lastly, the shadow neck binding technique, or in other words, the shadow strangle jutsu. This is a unique technique where Shikamaru's shadow will create a hand shadow which grabs the opponent by the neck and chokes them out until they die of suffocation. Overall, Shikamaru is very smart and tactical and a very amazing shinobi who utilizes his intellectual prowess and combat skills to finesse and destroy his opponents. But of course, with all that being said, it does become a drag. Now, I'm going to go ahead, move on from Shikamaru, and talk about his opponent, Fumikage Tokoyami, and see what his darkness brings to the table. During the tournament arc, Tokoyami faces off against Bakugo. Tokoyami is able to block and intercept Bakugo's explosions with Dark Shadow. The only real reason of losing to Bakugo was because of the drawback with Dark Shadow as the quirk, becoming weaker while exposed to sunlight or a high concentration of light. Regardless of all this is still impressive for Tokoyami being able to block those attacks, because Bakugo himself has some pretty good feats when it comes to scaling. Bakugo faces off against Todoroki. Todoroki shoots out a giant area of effect of ice at Bakugo, which Bakugo uses as Howitzer impact in response to the attack. Two different methods were used to calc all of this, and both calcs work out to be both city block level. There is another feat performed by Bakugo where he performs a Howitzer impact during World Heroes mission. This feat was calced around small town level plus to town level plus potency of attack potency. So Tokoyami would range from city block, small town level, or small town level plus to town level, if not town level plus, downscaling from Bakugo. Very impressive. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to speed. So there are some pretty decent ranges for speed for Tokoyami. So for lower end feats, Tokoyami is able to react to Kaminari's lightning. This was calced around Mach 478 to Mach 2146, aka massively hypersonic plus. We can take this even higher actually. There are some actually more impressive feats for Tokoyami. Now I must talk about a character named Ayama. Ayama was able to fire a laser beam and a blast of light, and Slice and Chimera are able to avoid them. Tokoyami is able to react to Slice's attacks. Mina can react to Ayama's laser beams. This was calced at 17% the speed of light. You can take it even higher, as Invisible Girl reacts to Ayama's laser beam, which was calced at 1.81 times faster than the speed of light. So Tokoyami would scale to all this. So overall, in terms of speed, Tokoyami would range from massively hypersonic plus, relativistic speeds, to FTL. Very impressive. Okay, that's it for stats. I'm going to go ahead and talk about Tokoyami's quirks and abilities. Tokoyami has incredible proficiency with his quirk called Dark Shadow. Dark Shadow dwells inside of Tokoyami using it for both attack and defense, boosting his mobility and even aiding him in rescue operations. Fumikage's ability have received praise from several prominent and notably powerful characters, including the likes of All Might, Hawks, Izuku, Shoto, and Fat Gum. Dark Shadow becomes stronger in dark places and even during the night. However, whilst exposed to sunlight, it dwindles Dark Shadow's power, which is why Tokoyami carries a black cloak to counteract this problem. Tokoyami can lace Dark Shadow on his body, and Dark Shadow can extend its limbs or increase its size to slash or hit multiple enemies. He knows many techniques with Dark Shadow, such as Ragnarok, where Fumikage summons an enlarged Dark Shadow towards an opponent, who then wraps around and swaddles itself around the target, preventing them from escaping or charge through his opponents. Black Abyss, another move where Tokoyami covers his body with Dark Shadow. Tokoyami channels the power of Ragnarok in his fists, and he hits his opponent with a massive claw attack. Sabbath is a technique that combines the elements of Fumikage's Black Abyss and Black Fallen Angel. Tokoyami uses Black Fallen Angel to soar through the air and pick up speed. After gaining enough momentum to glide on his own, Fumikage equips Dark Shadow around his head and creates two large shadow claws around his hands. In midair, he strikes his opponent with blinding speed. It can also be used to hit multiple opponents at once. Tokoyami also comes equipped with claws. Dark Shadow is very durable, and Tokoyami can form Dark Shadow around his body as armor. Lastly, his technique, Black Fallen Angel. Devised under the tutelage of number 2 pro hero Hawks, Fumikage wraps Dark Shadow under his cloak and has Dark Shadow hold onto him. Taking advantage of Dark Shadow's ability to float, Fumikage flies by having Dark Shadow carry him. Along with Dark Shadow opening its hands to increase mobility, the two are able to replicate bird's flight. Because Dark Shadow is mostly wrapped in Fumikage's black cloak, Fumikage can fly even in bright conditions, which would otherwise impair Dark Shadow's abilities. So that's going to round up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and move on and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in a cross-verse situation. Okay, so in terms of stats, I'll start off with AP. In terms of who has the highest AP, I lean a little bit more so to Shikamaru. Shikamaru takes the AP edge more often than not. This dude easily has higher stuff like, you know, town level plus part 1. And since we're using part 2, he would have way higher things than town level plus. He easily has city level scaling, mountain level scaling. You can even take it higher into like these, you know, the islands maybe, or even the countries, even though that's more of a high end. I don't see that, you know, being the case consistently. However, even if we downplay and just stick with like the mountain and the city level scaling for Shikamaru, it's just way too above Tokoyami's pay grade. You know, Tokoyami has like, you know, small town level scaling, or even at worst city block. Those are just measly in comparison to Shikamaru's AP scaling. So I give the AP to Shikamaru. Now in terms of like speed, they're actually pretty relative. They both have massively hypersonic plus, you know, scaling, easily relativistic stuff. Now when it comes to the FTL department, they also have some FTL reaction speed scaling. You can also get it to, you know, those realms of speed. However, I do think Shikamaru does edge out a little bit more so in the speed department if we use quantification and numbers. However, I don't think the gap's big enough for a blitz, so I definitely think they're pretty comparable in speed. Now when it comes down to the actual fight itself happening in standard battle assumptions, which is New York City, there's going to be trees, there's going to be general, like, you know, it's a normal afternoon sunny day. I definitely think the environment, they'll definitely shift it in an area where Tokoyami will make use of Dark Shadow, so obviously the potency of the shadows will help. But this will also be an issue as well, because Shikamaru, he does have the environmental advantage. He has the range with his Shadow Possession Jutsu, especially if he takes it out in a nice lit area, and the positioning he'll put himself in, and combined with Shikamaru's intelligence and tactics, I just think he has the edge. He has the means, he has the practicality, and many other tools to use in this fight to subdue Tokoyami. In character, Tokoyami will definitely go on the offense with Sabbath, you know, using, you know, Black Fallen Angel. He will use more offensive moves. Now when it comes to the Shadow Possession Jutsu, he can literally just split it He could just literally like summon multiple lines of shadows. He doesn't just have to resort to one. Or even if Tokoyami sees it and tries to dodge, Shikamaru is just gonna bamboozle him with his intelligence, start to use other means to get Tokoyami to drop his guard or get outsmarted. And I definitely see that happening in this fight. And if Tokoyami gets grabbed by the Shadow Possession Jutsu, that's GG. Given the fact that Shikamaru has the higher AP in this fight, Tokoyami's not getting out of it. He's stuck. He's literally at the mercy of the Shadow Possession Jutsu, and Shikamaru can do whatever he wants at this point. And since, you know, Dark Shadow as well, since he's a shadow as well, like he'll leave his shadow as well, he just control Dark Shadow himself, Shikamaru, and then just use use Dark Shadow to kill Tokoyami, or use the Shadow Strangle Jutsu and then choke out Tokoyami, and then GG no Ri. So more often than not, I have to give victory to Shikamaru. Better AP, better tactics, very smart, a lot more intelligent than Tokoyami. Has multiple ways to take out Tokoyami. Tokoyami is very limited based off the surroundings he's in. The environment kind of betrays him. And there's just many ways that Shikamaru can just dispatch of Tokoyami. You know, it's just a very unfortunate situation for Tokoyami. He just doesn't have any solid counters towards Shikamaru, and he just gets outperformed in many avenues. So more often than not, I have to give this to Shikamaru. But thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoy these types of videos, please leave a like, comment down below. I'll definitely do more anime related videos, DC and Marvel content. I still post that is also my vocal point too, but I will definitely try to cater to more verses. I'll see you guys in the next one.